Right now on Politics Now, a man's admission that he was trying to kill Donald Trump at Treasure Island.
She believes in particular that the Clinton closeness and associations with Wall Street are a problem. It's crucial.
And Face the Nation host John Dickerson talks potential VP candidates, campaign funding, and more.
It's time for Republicans to kill the NRA. Enough murder.
And Harry Reid sounds off after a vote on gun control bills doesn't go his way.
From 8 News Now, this is Politics Now with Steve Sebelius and Patrick Walker.
Well, we have learned the man who grabbed the gun from a Metro officer at Treasure Island was actually planning to shoot Donald Trump. Thanks for joining us. I'm Patrick Walker.
And I'm Steve Sebelius. 20-year-old Michael Sanford was in the country illegally after overstaying a visa from the United Kingdom. This is video of him being arrested at the TI last weekend. He told police he planned to shoot Trump and would do it again if given the chance. The Trump campaign has been relatively quiet about the entire incident, but Donald Trump Jr. said on Good Morning America that he was glad real professionals were looking out for his father, mentioning Metropolitan Police and the U.S. Secret Service.
And he also said he had faith in law enforcement to protect his father because it is impossible, he says, to plan for every scenario. So, Steve, does this impact the race? Of course, it's a scary development, but going forward at all?
Yeah, no, it is a scary development. It just shows that anything can happen and that things have really, in some cases, gotten out of control. But I don't think there'll be an impact going forward on this from just this one arrest. But it's a reminder that, you know, anything could happen at any time, and there are a lot of people who are putting themselves in harm's way. You know, every time we have a rally, we see just the guy speaking, but could get a lot worse.
Yeah, with all of the things happening, anything can happen. That was a big thing that we sat down this week with Face the Nation host John Dickerson to talk about here in the 8 News studio, among many other things. Yeah,
we talked about whether Trump can actually self-fund a campaign and how effective his ground game has been. But we started out by asking about who might be Donald Trump's vice presidential pick. Donald Trump is going to announce his vice presidential candidate. Do you have any idea who that might be, and what person could be found to stand in the shadow of Donald J. Trump?
Donald Trump doesn't follow a pattern. Usually when people of the same party get on a ticket, the number 2 guy has to learn a few of the ideas of the number 1 guy, but they've been running in the same ideological frame. So they know, you know, he's probably going to be for free trade, and he's probably going to be against open borders, but he probably isn't, you know, they kind of guess where the other person is. Donald Trump, you never know. And so what does a running mate do? There might be a lot of running mate tension. He doesn't like a lot of tension in his ranks. He also likes people he can trust, and he keeps his circle small. So integrating a new person into the Trump world will be very tough. And if it's somebody who's so weak that they just don't provide any kind of challenge, that in itself could be a problem. But if it's somebody who's charismatic and interesting, then that might cause potential clashes.
Any names you want to draw?
No, I mean, I think you could imagine anything from Chris Christie to, I don't think Ben Carson, but Chris Christie would be, I guess, the name. And, you know, there's a fascinating challenge. So Chris Christie would be an interesting vice president. He knows how to work with Democratic legislators. You could argue that here's a guy who's been in the cut and thrust of politics. He knows how to get some stuff done. I'll be the kind of, you know, chairman of the board, and he'll be the CEO working day to day in politics. That's fine. But Chris Christie has his own independent personality. And if he's out on the campaign trail every day being asked questions, poked and prodded, there's inevitably going to be areas of tension. Areas of tension are not good for a candidacy that's got some challenges the way the Trump campaign does. So that's the real, we saw this with Sarah Palin and John McCain, where ultimately you can bind a running mate to a candidate, but they drift apart if their personalities are so kind of at odds. And we didn't see that with Paul Ryan and Mitt Romney. They were in sync behaviorally, temperamentally, and they both kind of loved issues. So they were never apart in any possible way. So it's going to be very fascinating to watch who Trump picks.
What about on the Democratic side? Probably a much more conventional pick, but Secretary Castro has been one of the top names mentioned. Who do you think Hillary Clinton will go with? And do you think Elizabeth Warren is going to get the nod?
I don't know. There's a lot of talk about Elizabeth Warren. Some of the Democrats I've talked to have made this case about her. Well, first of all, she is very much to the left of Hillary Clinton. You can't put those mean, she would have to basically stay quiet about a lot of the things that she believes. And she believes in particular that the Clinton closeness and associations with Wall Street are a problem. And you can't just paper over that.
Right.
And also, she's gotten a lot of success in her career by saying what she believes. Why would she want to just totally go, sort of mum? So I think that's a tricky and complicated pick. I think also, as Democrats I've talked to have made this case, which is that Elizabeth Warren is a kind of backward-looking pick, which is to say it solves a problem that Hillary Clinton had in the primary, but which wasn't really a problem because she got millions of more votes than Bernie Sanders. So why are you solving a problem about the past? Solve a problem to the extent you can with any pick in the vice president about something in the future. So what would that possibly be? One Democratic insider I was talking about said, well, maybe she looks at a military person, a military man, in case there's any voters out there who worry about her toughness. I don't think actually there are that many voters who are out there, but that was just as an example of a forward-looking pick. So I don't know. I don't really know who's. I think Senator Amy Klobuchar might be on the short list, but I think with vice presidents at this stage, it's basically somebody who's not going to do you any harm. You're not going to pick up a state, and then somebody who can take it to Donald Trump in a clever way. And Elizabeth Warren would work in that category, although she can keep doing what she's doing now, which obviously irritates Donald Trump at some level, even if she's not a running mate.
Donald Trump talks a lot about self-funding and the need to do so going forward. Of course, running for president at the general election level is very, very expensive. Realistically, can he do that?
I don't think so, because for this reason, we don't know what's in his actual bank account. I mean, he says he's worth $10 billion. The question is whether that's liquid, and also, as a steward of his own money, what happens when he, things aren't maybe looking so good? Is he really going to just drop that money in all the way? So I think it's a real question about whether and how much money he's going to spend. I think also it's possible for him to do what Ross Perot did, which is when Ross Perot ran, they came to him with a $30 million ad campaign, and he said, I'm not going to do that. I can just go on Larry King, which was the new television model at the time. I'll just go on Larry King and say what I'm going to say, and people will listen to me, and I don't need all these fancy commercials. And that was a theory. It didn't work. Then he ended up spending the money, but then he ended up spending it on those infomercials, which was a clever kind of new media way to try and do it. It still didn't work, but you can imagine Trump. You've already seen him and heard him say, basically, I don't need to do it the traditional way. So I don't need the traditional money. Again, it's a theory. When campaigns are built on get out the vote efforts and grassroots work at the precinct level, that's expensive. If he's not spending the money on that, a lot of the experts think it's just not going to happen.
And he's not doing that here in Nevada, per se.
No.
And how many other states is he not doing that in? That's a question, I think, for him, not you. But
right. Well, for all of his talent, when in Iowa, when he came in second in the Iowa caucus, he said, who had heard this term ground game? Well, a lot of people had heard the term ground game, but he said, by saying that, sort of like, oh, I'm now kind of alive to the idea that you have to have a ground game no matter how popular you are. This is still true in a general election. He may be able to get all kinds of coverage. The question is whether that coverage is good. Being covered just by itself is not necessarily always good. His high negative ratings would suggest that not all coverage is good coverage for him. But the second thing is, even if you build all this energy, you have to find a mechanism to channel it into the movement of voters to the polls. And you really do that through a ground game. And you have to build that, and you can't build it fast. So his deficit on ground game in the battleground states it's a big challenge for him to catch up.
a lot to this conversation, a lot more, just scratching the surface here. By the way, John Dickerson has a new book coming out in August called Whistle Stop. It's all about the history presidential campaigns, and you can watch Face the Nation every Sunday morning at 8:30 right here on Channel 8.
And you can watch that entire interview on LasVegasNow.com. Look for your local election headquarters link under sections. We commend it to you. It's a good interview.
Well, can Democrats take both houses of the legislature, take it back? Coming up next, we'll take a look at the races they're targeting to try to accomplish that.
The Henderson Chevrolet Tent Event has been extended, and the savings are even bigger. Get a brand new 2016 Chevy Silverado for $12,000 off MSRP. That's cash in your pocket, and it's all happening at the Henderson Chevrolet Extended Tent Event right now. $12,000 $12,000 off MSRP on the brand new 2016 Chevy Silverado.
Look for the big tents at Henderson Chevrolet in the Valley Auto Mall. Price, service, selection. You get it all at Henderson Chevrolet.
Who are you consulting with consistently so that you're ready on day one?
I'm speaking with myself, number one.
This is the Trump theory on war. I'm really good at war. I love war in a certain way. Including with nukes, yes, including with nukes.
I want to be unpredictable. I'm not going to tell you right now what I'm going to do.
I know more about ISIS than the generals do, believe me.
Priorities USA Action is responsible for the content of this advertising.
If you forgot to pay your cell phone bill, it's your fault. But if you've been hurt in an accident, injured at work, or denied Social Security benefits, it's your fault if you don't call Ed. Enough said. Call Ed. EdBernstein.com.
Children's Dentistry is a parent's first choice when it comes to kids with dental anxiety. They accept most insurances, including Medicaid and Amerigroup, and they have orthodontics right in-house. Creating healthy smiles for children and youth. Call Children's Dentistry at 99
All right, guys, we brought you to this construction trailer to talk about trucks today. Which truck brand offers engines with best-in-class V8 towing or fuel economy?
We moving?
We're going.
It's the answer to the question, baby. Silverado.
Ooh, that's cool.
It's Truck Month. Qualified buyers get 0% financing for 60 months. Plus, find your tank and get $8,250 total value on this Silverado All-Star. Find new roads at your local Chevy dealer.
Welcome back to Politics Now.
Well, now that the primaries are over, we can take a look toward the general election in November to determine the key questions answer. Who might control the Nevada legislature in 2017? Right now, Republicans have that thin 11-10 advantage, as thin as it can be in the state Senate, but that may not last for long. So, Steve, we'll start with the Senate. What are some of the districts that you're keeping an eye on that maybe could flip for the Dems?
There's 3 districts, but really there's only 2. We're looking at this one, the Senate District 6,
so
which is
right here, right?
Right out here in Summerlin, which is the seat that was formerly held by Mark Lipparelli. He decided not to run for re-election. Victoria Seaman decided to run for that seat, and she is going to face a prosecutor by the name of Nicole Cannizzaro in that seat. But down here in Henderson, District 5, yeah, right close to you, that is Joyce Woodhouse's seat. She's the incumbent. She's won that seat. She's lost that seat. And so Republicans are really, really trying to unseat her with a charter school principal by the name of Carrie Buck. That's going to be a big one.
Now, there are some slam dunks for Democrats in the Assembly. We won't circle them, but a couple of slam dunks you're thinking are what?
Right, yeah. We have in Districts 8, in District 10, and in District 34. It looks like those are going to change. Then we have here, out in the western part of Las Vegas, we have Assembly District 5. This one right in here. And that's cool. I like that. And that's where Democrat Brittany Miller, who was not endorsed, interestingly, by the caucus, is running against the guy with probably the best name on the ballot, Artemis Ham. Best name on the ballot. So that's District 5. Then down in District 9, which is a little further out, right here. Yep, okay. Right next to it. You have Steve Yeager. He's a public defender, and he is running against David Gardner, who's the incumbent assemblyman and the guy who wrote that law about breaking up the Clark County School District. Okay, down in Henderson Way, in District 21.
21, right here.
Right there. There you go. We have Ozzie Fumo. He's an attorney. He's running against Derek Armstrong. And then in District 29, down here in Henderson, right next door, yep, absolutely, you have Leslie Cohen, who used to hold that seat, who's now trying to get back into the Assembly. She is running against Stephen Silbercross, who is the incumbent. And interestingly enough, Patrick, those 3 races, Gardner, Armstrong, and Silbercross, all 3 of those candidates were challenged by Republicans in their own party because they had voted for that tax bill. They survived those primaries, and now they're running against Democrats in the general election. So we'll see how they fare in those districts.
And that goes back to the Senate as well in SD6 with Victoria Seaman, where she was one of the anti-tax that did come out victorious. That whole goes back to, what, 11 that were targeted?
Yeah, absolutely. She ran against Irv Nelson, who gave up his seat to try to get into the state Senate, and he lost for that very reason, the tax vote.
Well, we'll see. These should be close. I'm interested especially in the Yeager and Gardner race. A couple of names. Yeager is known in the Las Vegas area as a public defender. He's known, and then Gardner having been in there. So that's going to be the one I think that I'm going to be watching the most. Very interesting in November when that happens.
And remember, they need 5 seats, a net gain of 5 seats to take over the assembly, and they've already got 3 in the bag. So these are the ones that they're kind of on the cusp, but they're going to be targeting.
Nice job. First time on the use of the
First
telestrator
time on the
here.
telestrator.
Nice job for
worked.
Steve. You saw it right here on Politics Now. All right. Well, raising enough or not?
And the fact that he doesn't have the money now, he has not tried to get the money up to this point.
He's had 2 months.
Our face-off panel takes on the next step in the presidential process. We're talking about fundraising.
And can Trump survive being outspent? We'll look at the ad buy so far in the presidential race.
Today we're going to talk about the all-new 2016 Chevy Cruze, but you're only going to answer me in emojis. So this Cruze has built-in 4G LTE Wi-Fi with 24 gigs of data. It also comes with 24 months of Sirius XM satellite radio.
Like word, Chevy. That's the way to go.
Current qualified GM lessees can get this all-new 2016 Chevy Cruze LT with 2 years of Sirius XM radio for around $169 a month.
The Race Now on Politics Now is sponsored by NV Energy. We're putting all of our energy into your energy.
I'm attorney Glenn Lerner. Make one call, that's all to 877-1500, and I'll make sure you get every dollar you deserve.
877-1500. Call for the Coit Cleaning Team. Save 30% on carpet, upholstery, and all Coit professional cleaning services today. Call 1-800-4COIT or visit Coit.com.
No wonder they're so excited. They must have seen the new Volkswagen Passat. This midsize sedan was redesigned with fun-loving families in mind. There's lots of room inside for your little party animals, and you'll enjoy its standard features, like a rear-view camera. Everything about it has grown up, except the low starting price.
Did I mention it's quiet inside? What is going on back there?
Although I must say, nice composition.
Hurry in and get 0% APR for 60 months on select 2016 Passat models, or lease this 2016 Passat S for $189 a month.
Monday morning on Good Day, a new consumer warning the FTC wants you to take seriously. Buying a pet online could cost you both financially and emotionally.
He's an evil man that preys on people's heartstrings.
The online scam that is emptying people's wallets and leaving holes in their hearts. Plus, getting your questions answered. We're sitting down with Mayor Littman for Monday Mornings with the Mayors. And forget downloading more people streaming their favorite tunes. Yeah, we'll show you the simple way to transfer your playlist without taking up too much data. Monday on Good Day.
You're watching Politics Now.
Well, Hillary Clinton is outspending Donald Trump by a wide margin. So far, Hillary and the super PACs that are supporting her have spent $117 million on TV ads from now until Election Day. Trump has spent zero. That's according to ad tracking by Kantar Media. In fact, Trump has not bought an ad since May. So is Donald Trump behind the 8 ball in the ground game of fundraising? We put the question to our face-off panel this week, KXNT radio host Alan Stock and former Democratic State Party Chairwoman Adriana Martinez.
All right, let's talk a little bit about funding in the race. New reports, FEC reports coming out showing Donald Trump only has $1.3 million in the bank. Hillary Clinton, $42 million. Self-funding now becomes an issue. Is Donald Trump really going to self-fund, and how much is he relying on donors now?
Oh, he's not going to self-fund. He self-funded the primary. He's now going to go after the money from the base in the Republican Party and those people who are going to give it to him. Sheldon Adelson's already said he's good for $100 million for this particular race, and there'll be others that'll kick in. So, no, he's not going to self-fund. It's going to be well-funded on both sides. It's a war. You know.
He just spoke with ABC's David Muir the other day and said Hillary Clinton's going to put up $1.2 billion. That's what he thinks the magic number is. That's a lot of money. All of this money from donors on both sides. Mm-hmm. What does that say about the stakes of the election?
Well, the stakes are high, absolutely. But it says a lot for Donald Trump for him to have just $1.3 million. He doesn't have the infrastructure in all states. His campaign office just notified everybody that they closed today. So what does that say? Nevada's a battleground state. He has to have the infrastructure. He has absolutely nothing. Sheldon Adelson can pour $100 million $1,000 if he wants, but without the infrastructure and without the top leadership on board ready to fire back, he doesn't have the leadership. He doesn't have the RNC behind him. So I think it's an awful lot of trouble for him in a presidential election where all stakes are so high, and that's where we stand right now.
Well, let me just correct one thing. That's not true. The RNC is 100% behind him. Reince Priebus is behind him. So the top brass are behind him. I know there's some defection in the party, like there's problems in the Democrats between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. But no, the party's behind him for the most part. And what's going to happen is the money will be put into it, and the infrastructure will be created. I don't see Trump sweating in the least bit at all. And the fact that he doesn't have the money now, he has not tried to get the money up to this point.
He's had 2 months since he's known that he's the presumptive, candidate. And so I can't imagine anybody not trying at this moment when you are, I mean, look, the stakes are high. This is a presidential election, and not trying, I'm not buying it, Alan. I'm not buying it at all.
But you know and I know that during the entire primary season, the other people outspent him, a 10, 20, 30, 40 to 1, whatever it was. He spent very, very little. He managed to get a lot of PR on his own, or as he said, millions and millions of dollars or billions, of PR on his own. Every time he talked, everybody was going to him. He got more PR than they bought. So I don't think that he's worried about getting PR. And as again, we get closer to the conventions, and after that, we've got the Labor Day weekend when things really kick off. I think you're going to see both sides pouring a lot of money into it and getting a lot of attention. And at that point, Hillary probably will get almost as much attention as him, because it'll be a two-person battle if she's not in jail.
When the Orlando 911 transcript was redacted, and whether Bernie Sanders will ever drop out of the race. You can watch the rest of Face Off on LasVegasNow.com.
All right, this is The Race Now, where we talk about the big local stories right here in Nevada coming up this week. Governor Brian Sandoval is putting together a panel to tackle opioid addiction in Nevada. He calls it one of the deadliest epidemics in our state. He's holding a summit in August, and this week held a planning meeting. The governor says everything is on the table. One focus might be cooperation between the private sector and oversight by law enforcement at all levels. The state will also look at the role of licensing boards. And County Commissioner Chris Giuliani suggested the county should look into adopting a transgender bathroom policy. So we'll watch to see if that comes up at any future county commission meetings. And 4 gun bills failed to pass the Senate, and Nevada Senators Harry Reid and Dean Heller voted opposite of each other on all 4 of them. The bills would have been universal background checks with no-fly, no-buy amendments, one from Democrats, one from Republicans. Then on Tuesday, Reid blasted Republicans for what he called their lack of cooperation.
Well, the NRA exists solely as a fundraising vehicle for more guns, more bullets, and fewer safeguards. So it's time for Republicans in Congress to defend the people who sent them to Washington in the first place and put the personal safety of their constituents over the needs of the NRA. It's time for Republicans to tell the NRA, enough murder, enough carnage, enough guns.
So how big of an election issue are guns going forward, I guess? And then if there was some room for some cooperation on no-fly, no-buy, is it ever going to happen?
Yeah, I think first they're definitely going to be an issue because we have that initiative on the on the ballot here. So in Nevada, for sure, there'll definitely be an issue, and I think this Orlando shooting has put them on the national agenda too. The second part of it is I think the Democrats, I think, may have to find some compromise. They don't control the agenda. They can't get to 60 votes without some Republicans. If they could find a way to compromise, like on John Cornyn's bill, to maybe figure out some way to be able to support it, they actually might get a bill passed. But if the goal is just to hold votes that where Republicans are voting against Democratic bills and then turning around and making an ad about that so they can use in the races, then I think you're seeing just more political theater.
It turns into that vicious cycle of saying things to get them on the air and say things about your opponent.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, much more to come. Stay with us. We'll be right back here on Politics Now.
Wow, that's a lot of groceries. Well, I had a bunch of coupons. I love to save.
If you really love to save, go to AutoNation. Everything's on sale now.
Meep, meep.
Follow him.
Right now, during our Independence Day sale, you have the freedom to lease new 2016 Toyota Corollas for only $139 a month. At AutoNation Toyota Las Vegas on West Sahara.
Sinclair set off 100 years ago, and we never would have made it this far without the constant drive for something better. And with DinoCare top-tier gasoline, the road trip never has to end.
Hey, honey. You remember to lock the Buick, right?
Of course I do. I'll never forget that.
The Buick Remote Link app, now available in every Buick.
You closed all the apartment windows, too.
Come on. Really?
You're the best.
Now current lessees, switch to Buick and get this low-mileage lease on this 2016 Encore for around $199 per month with just $519 due at signing.
Children's Dentistry is a parent's first choice when it comes to kids with dental anxiety. They accept most insurances, including Medicaid and AmeriGroup. They're even open on Saturdays. Creating healthy smiles for children and youth. Call Children's Dentistry at 99 Tooth.
Honey, the water heater's broken.
Call Lang! The toilet won't fly. Mom!
I'd better call Lang.
When you call Lang Plumbing, you get affordable pricing, unmatched workmanship, honesty, and integrity.
Call Lang! Things do not seem to be going well lately for the Trump campaign. This weekend, they sent out what they called an emergency fundraising email claiming they needed to raise $100,000 quickly. I was wondering when they would finally get to the Nigerian prince in desperate need of your help part of the campaign. And they're there. I'm not sure how much of a toll.
Hey, that Nigerian prince thing actually works. So
I'm still waiting for my money. I don't know.
Exactly. We'll see if Trump can actually make that work.
It's Jimmy Kimmel they're talking about. Trump fundraising. All right, let's move on now to What to Watch, where we take a look at the big political stories coming up this week. Of course, the 4th of July is almost here. So amongst celebrating our nation's independence, you can expect politicians out and about to be touting their policies in the name of American patriotism. Many will be at the Summerlin 4th of July parade as well, which is the largest in Nevada. And of course, there are plenty of fireworks too. And Americans for Prosperity, which is a right-wing group, says Nevada's Senate race will be their top priority. They told the Washington Post they are sending organizers and staff right here to campaign for Joe Heck. So you may be getting a knock on your door from one of them sometime soon. It is that time, drumming up support. You're going to hear it from both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. We will watch for those guys at our doors, in our mailboxes, in our email boxes, and everywhere else.
Brace yourselves, right?
Yeah. Thanks for watching Politics Now. You can email us at politics@lasvegasnow.com.
And we are your local election headquarters for the next year. You can stay up to date online and watch us every Sunday right here on Channel 8. Have a good one.